Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Stop the Burnout Holiday Edition. Because the holidays are a very stressful time for a lot of us. So I thought we would get together and talk about how to, manage our stress for the holiday season. And I'm so glad to have you guys here with me. I want to first tell you a little bit about me. My name is Dr. Kimberly Van Buren, and I am in burnout recovery. Little story about me. In 2007, I moved to Texas. I got married. I started a new job. I had just became a therapist. So I had a lot of new things going, and it was really good. Um, that was probably why I decided this was a great time for me to start my PhD program. And that program is where my relationship with burnout truly began. So, I worked on some things and I am just here to share with you what I have learned along the way. Okay, so chime in on the chat, even though right now I don't see where it is. To be perfectly honest, let's see. Hopefully. Okay. So, anyways, hopefully you guys can chime in on the chat there. Let me see. Somebody saying something on the chat. Hmm, I don't see it. So, anyways, moving right along. So, like I said, that was a little bit about me. And when I work with clients experiencing burnout, those who are on the brink of burnout, oh, okay, I see some people are able to chime in. Great. They tell me that stress is just a part of their life and that they don't know how to relax and they're exhausted and they feel like they can't do anything about it. But I have been there. And so I am here to help us, get through this time. We're going to start with stress versus burnout because we often use, hey, okay, so people are able to use the chat. Great. We often use these words interchangeably, but they are actually very different. Stress is any change that causes physical, mental, or psychological strain, whereas burnout is chronic stress that goes unmanaged and leads to physical and emotional distress that can be quite severe, causing an individual not to function in the way they need to function. Things like going to work or even getting dressed can seem really overwhelming if you are burned out. That's real, it leads to real complications that can alter a person's life and well being, right? You can understand how that can happen. If you can't get yourself dressed and go to work, well, that could be a problem. So there is eustress and de-stress. Eustress is excitement, like when we're getting married or buying a house, having a baby. These things are stressful, but they're ultimately positive. And then there's distress, which is what we're talking about normally when we're talking about stress. Changes like illnesses, difficult relationships, financial strain. These are all parts of distress. So it can actually be kind of difficult to differentiate between eustress and distress, especially during the holidays. Ultimately, the holidays are positive, right? It's a time to spend with our families. We are celebrating, being thankful, all of these things. However, the way we handle the holidays can have negative consequences. There are times that we have to acknowledge that what we are doing is in direct conflict with what is good with for us. And that time is when you're feeling overwhelmed, run down, and not like yourself. Does anybody have that experience here during the holidays? I imagine that's why we're all here today, correct? So, in order for us to manage our stress, we have to know how to identify our stress symptoms, right? Do you know how to identify your stress? If you look in the chat, I have placed in there a link to 50 common and not so common stress symptoms. If you guys will look at it for a second, and I want to hear how stress shows up for some of you. I want to know how stress feels in your body. I want to know that you know how stress feels in your body. So, our goal is to recognize it. So, go ahead and take a look at that link. It's at the top there. Let me know as you're looking at it what you see that is interesting or that you can relate to. I want you to take the next couple of minutes and write down 3 ways that you experience stress. And if someone wants to share in the chat, that would be awesome. But yeah, we want to know how our stress symptoms show up for ourselves. I know when I look at that list, the ones that pop out for me, I think it's number 13 or 14 when they're talking about gastrointestinal issues, right? You don't see a link. Let's see. See if I can post it again. It's at the top of the chat. And if you can't see the link, go ahead and just think about it and write down your 3 ways that stress shows up for your body. Because a lot of us know what we feel, right? And we don't need to see it on a list. So, will someone like to share what they feel when they are stressed out, what they feel in their body? I know me personally, I have shoulder pain, right? It's on my left side, and that's where I hold a lot of my stress. But everyone's different. Like I said, on this list, which I will get to you guys, I'll send it in an email. It has things on there that are not so common, like minor accidents. A lot of people are not aware that when you are tripping or falling a lot or minor car accidents, that could be a sign of stress. Okay, I see someone said number 27 and 29. What are those that are interesting? Gastrointestinal issues are a big stress symptom too that a lot of people don't think about. Having tummy issues, that can be stress. I mean, it can be other things too, but a lot of times we chalk up what we're feeling in our bodies to being something different than stress. Stress is very prevalent in our society, and it is really ruining a lot of lives. So we need to be able to increase nervousness, guilt, frustration. Absolutely. I do see some in the comments popping up now. Um, Absolutely, making difficult decisions. Those are all good ones, right? These are all stress symptoms, and we have to become aware of what we're feeling in our bodies if we're going to manage that stress. Because how can we manage it if we can't identify it, correct? Okay, so moving on. This is the 5-step flow system model that I created when I was going through things. And so there's 5 steps to this. We are going to assess what's going on in our lives, identify what is working, what is not, placing changes in order of importance. That's number 3, prioritizing. And then we're going to plan for step 4, deciding how you're going to make the changes. And step 5 is to commit. And what's interesting about this is that commit is the number one thing, right? Because if we are not going to commit to making the changes, then it's all for nothing. So looking at this 5-step model here, that is what we're going to do in order to make sure that we are managing our stress. And this is what we do all year long, right? So when I'm talking about burnout prevention with everyone, not just during the holidays, but all year long, we're using this flow system, and we're always analyzing our 6 primary life areas, right? Which is our mood, our schedule, our productivity, health, relationships, and sleep. So those are things that we're always looking at all year long, not just during the holidays. We want to make sure that our mood is stable, that our schedule is realistic, our productivity is going the way we want it to be, right? Our relationships are healthy, and that our sleep and sleep health are doing what they're supposed to do. Oh, I see people still chiming in with their stress symptoms. Absolutely. Absolutely. These are all signs of stress. And so, because this is a holiday, stress prevention, we're going to focus on it because Harvard Medical Journal says, let me get to my little slide here. Oh, that doesn't look like a happy holiday, right? We're going to focus on the holidays because according to the Harvard Medical Journal, 62% of people surveyed said that they experience higher stress levels during the holidays. Right now, isn't that's upsetting because the holidays are supposed to be good and fun for us. In addition to feeling more stress, nearly 3 out of 10 people say that they get less sleep around the holidays. And almost a third, 31.1% of people say that their physical and mental health worsens in the months of November, December, and January. Right? And so that gives us pause and it makes us want to think like, why are the holidays so stressful? And so that's what we're going to talk about here. The number one on our list tonight, why the holidays are so stressful, is social obligations, right? The holidays are a time when we see a lot of people. We see a lot of people. Oh, yeah, I see someone saying, yeah. We see a lot of people during the holidays, some that we haven't seen in a while, some that we have problematic relationships with, some that we would rather not see at all. From office parties to neighborhood gatherings, school obligations, church functions, this time of the year is basically nonstop social gatherings. So for some people, it's awesome and they live for this time of the year where they can plan, prep, and party. For others, it feels a little stressful. And we're all different. And not only that, but we're all subject to change. So how you feel this year may not be how you feel next year. I have had some years where I was much more festive than others. You know, there's been times that I've literally decorated my house at the beginning of November. I've whipped out my hot glue gun and made ornaments and wreaths. I even baked Christmas cookies once for like my whole neighborhood. I was like a little Mrs. Claus. But there are other years when I am less festive and I debate on whether it's important or not for me to even decorate my house at all. It's okay to recognize that we're all humans having a human experience, and however you feel is how you feel. Give yourself some grace. But because of the amount of social obligations that we have during this year, that's why it causes the holidays to be more stressful. Does anyone feel that they have a little bit more stress during the holidays? I see someone said they did. Um, is it the social obligations that you feel cause you stress? I know for me, we haven't gotten to my stressor yet, but it's coming. Moving right along, our financial strain. The holidays, we spend a lot of money during the holidays. Decorations, travel, gifts, food. It is a frenzy of shopping, right? We're just constantly buying stuff. And if you're not careful, your holidays can lead you to a less than happy new year. The bills start coming in and you realize that perhaps you did not need that $300 inflatable Santa for the yard, or maybe you could have opted out of purchasing gifts for all the little cousins. I'm not hating on yard decor or kids, but I'm saying that you have to recognize your financial boundaries when you are spending during the holidays. If you don't, it will cause you stress because you know you can't afford something, but yet you're continuously spending, because that's what this time of year promotes, right? It's all about buying. It's all about gift giving and decorating and doing all these things. And you have to be sure that you are not only doing it because you know you're feeling obligated to, but you also have to know if you are able, right? If you are capable of doing the things that you're doing financially. We don't want to get ourselves in a lot of debt during the holiday time. And a lot of people are stressed because they know that's exactly what's happening as they're making all of these purchases, right? Next on why we're stressed out during the holidays is time pressure. The holidays are supposed to be time away from work where we focus on family and spending this time together. But actually, most people don't get off from work for the holidays, maybe that one day, but you know, maybe the day before if they're lucky. But people are not off from work like they used to be. Companies are not closing for the holidays like they did once upon a time. And for some industries, the holidays is when they work even harder, right? Some people have a lot of deadlines to make during the holiday season. So they're actually working harder than they would for the rest of the year. So in actuality, during the holidays, they are just adding a lot of extra activities and extra pressures to a time that's already busy. And so it's important for you to acknowledge and understand where you are on that scale. Like, are you working harder during the holidays because of your job? Are you allowed to have some time off? Are you able to not focus on certain aspects of your job in order to focus on some holiday things? It's important that we recognize where we are at any given time with our time, right? How much time do you actually have? There are also some time pressures because the children are off from school. And so they're looking at you like, hey, let's do something. I'm off from school. It's vacation. I want to go somewhere. But if you're not, then that's just another thing that you're kind of stressed about because you don't have the time to spend with your kids. Right. So I'm just bringing up the reasons why, we're stressed. I want to hear from social obligations and time pressures. Absolutely. Those are time pressure is one for me because I just always feel like, okay, there's all these different things that need to be done and who has enough time. The last thing on this, why do we have holiday stress, is expectations. This is a huge reason why our stress is high. Our expectations during this time of year are at their highest. We are expecting the plot from and scenery from all of our favorite Christmas Hallmark movies to be a part of our experience during the holidays. And when it does not happen, we are left feeling underwhelmed, and it leads to anxiety about why my life is not turning out the way it should be. The truth is that life is not like that. We're tricking ourselves with these unrealistic expectations that are just unattainable, not just for you, but unattainable in general. This is not real life. I'm from Southern California, not a snow girl at all, but on every movie I see, the snow looks amazing. I mean, it's just beautiful. I mean, you've seen it on Hallmark, all right? Isn't the snow lovely? And I remember the first time when my parents took me to snow. And I remember thinking, like, this is not the snow I saw on TV, right? It was dirty. It was really more icy than snow. It was hard when you fell. It just wasn't what I was expecting. And it's not the snow's fault. The snow was just being snow. It was just that I had unrealistic expectations of how that snow was going to be. And unfortunately, that's how a lot of us are living our lives. We're having unrealistic expectations on so many aspects, with the holidays being a big one. So it's having a big impact on our mental, emotional, and physical health. When I'm talking about our 6 primary life areas to manage all year long, we're going to replace this session with the 3 P's. Let's get to that. For the holidays, right? Preparation, perspective, pamper. So these are the 3 things that we're going to use in order to lower our stress for this holiday season. The first, do we have any questions real quick? Anyone want to chime in about, again, where their stress shows up for the holidays? For me, it was the time. The time is really crucial for me during the holidays. I just feel overwhelmed with the amount of things there are to do, whether it is social activities, mailing things, planning things, seeing everyone. It's a lot, and it can really cause you to feel overwhelmed. So here are the 3 P's that we're going to use in order to lower that stress. So number 1, preparation. You're going to plan early. Starting at Thanksgiving, if you're lucky enough, there is some coordination to be done with your family. The more people who love you, the more complicated it may be. For those of you who have a lot of love in your life and a lot of people who want to spend time with you, it may be more complicated. You have to make decisions about parents and in-laws, grandparents, exes, stepkids, siblings, and coordinating all of these outings for the holidays. That can feel overwhelming. On top of that, if you're traveling, right, you really have to plan that in advance because you have to buy tickets and get rental cars and hotels. So you want to do all those things in advance, but to cut back on some of the stress, perhaps I suggest you create a plan that works year after year. What does that look like? Things like when you have multidimensional families, initiating a system that provides clarity to those you love may look something like, this Thanksgiving, we're going to go to California to spend with my family, and then we'll host your family from Michigan here at the house. Then next year, my family will come here and you will go to see your family for Christmas. And depending on what your family looks like, you can add as many variables as you need to make this work. But you want to have a plan set so that every year it's not, oh my God, what are we going to do? That causes us to be stressed. So if we have a general layout of how this looks, it might be less stressful. It will definitely be less stressful during the time of the holidays. And a couple of caveats to that: try combining outings and family members. You may not be able to go see everyone individually, but you can combine as many as possible so you can see everyone. So having a foundation of what's going to happen is preferred if you want to lower your stress. Next, under preparation, is that dreaded B word, budget, right? Do you have money to travel? It may not be a part of the financial plan this year to have to travel anywhere or to have large numbers of people at your home. Maybe not this year, and that's okay. And it's okay to acknowledge it to yourself and to convey that message to your family members. If we don't have the money to travel or go somewhere and we're keeping that information to ourselves, well, then our loved ones will start to ask, well, please come see me, or why can't you guys come? Or, all of this all these questions that are going to cause you more stress, instead of just being straightforward and saying like, hey, we don't have the money for that this year, or we're saving money for something else, or we're just not going to make it. But conveying that message sooner rather than later is going to be helpful, especially when it's related to your budget, because you don't want to go over your budget like we were talking about, and then putting that financial strain on yourself for the next few months. And when I say budget, I don't mean a roundabout number that you're thinking about may work, maybe, possibly. I'm talking about a real life budget, and it needs to be clear. Write it down. I have a little worksheet that I use. And see here, it has a couple of things on there you can write. It's not super fancy, but you can write down everything on here. You can write it all on here and total it up at the end, right? So you can get an idea of what your expenses may look like this holiday season. And once you know your numbers, it will allow you to identify what's in the budget and what's not. It makes things clearer. If you see it on paper, it's like, oh, yeah, that's not going to happen this year. So having a budget is really important. Next, we have time. Because the social obligations are abundant, time is another consideration during this preparation, right? You have to consider how much time you have when you're planning on what you're going to do. Knowing what events you're going to commit to will lower your stress overall. This goes for events with your family, with your kids' school, with your coworkers, with your girlfriends. How are you going to spend your time? And you need to look at what kind of week you're having in order to decide what you have the capacity for. If I'm having a super busy week at work, well, then my time for social gatherings might be a bit limited. And so you have to check in with yourself to see like, what do I have the capacity for? One way you could do this, like I said, is looking at your mandatory obligations, your work, doctor's appointments, your hobbies, your fitness routines, all of the things that make up your life. And be honest with yourself, recognizing how much time you have for additional things. Often during the holidays, we allow so many things to go by the wayside, like our fitness plans and our hobbies, things that make up who we are, things that we have put in place as self-care to lower our stress. We kind of let them go during the holidays. That's not helpful. So you want to be clear, and you want to know exactly what it is that you have time for. Do you know what we need to implement in order to do this preparation? I bet you guys can figure it out. It's like my favorite thing to talk about, boundaries. Boundaries is the most important thing when we're trying to keep our life balance. Having clear and effective boundaries is the key to preventing burnout during the holidays. Boundaries refers to the limits or guidelines that we establish to define our personal, emotional, and physical space. Keep in mind that setting and communicating boundaries are is an ongoing process, right? We're works in progress. It is not easy to do. It requires self-awareness, it requires effective communication, and a willingness to adjust these boundaries in different situations as needed with different relationships. I work with my clients on boundary setting quite a bit because it's such a huge part of balancing our lives. Without setting boundaries, we are at risk for allowing circumstances to control our lives. Do you know your hardcore boundaries, like the things that you will and will not allow in your life? It's important that you know what you will and will not allow, because if you don't, things will sneak in and then you will find that you're spending time doing things you don't want to do with people you don't want to do it with, and you'll be upset and wondering, how did I get in this place? And so let me hear from someone about their boundaries. Give me one hard boundary for yourself. For me, I know one thing that I not very often I don't skim on my sleep, right? So anything that is going to get in the way of that, I have to put up a boundary. I have to put up a boundary. And it looks like many different things depending on what's happening. But I will let people know, like, oh, I'm not going to be able to do that because for some reason, whatever the case may be, it's interfering with a boundary that I have about getting the rest that I need. And so knowing that, makes a lot of things less stressful for me because I just let people know. Right. So next, our second P is perspective. Understanding that there is no perfect is the perspective that we need to lower our stress. Right. There's no perfect. And the holidays can bring that feeling of lack because we have such high and often unrealistic expectations of how things should look. When they're not how we think they should look, we're disappointed. Right. And that is why our perspective needs to be working on gratitude. Gratitude is one of the things we can use to change our perspective to be more positive. Having gratitude for what you have and purposely not focusing on what you do not have will provide you with a positive outlook on what is happening, whatever is happening. Gratitude is not just an emotion, it's also a mindset. It's a conscious effort to focus on the positive aspects of one's experience. You can work on being intentionally grateful by creating a gratitude habit, right? Whatever it is, that there are plenty of different things you can do. Having intentional practices like a gratitude journal or regularly reflecting on what you have, right? The things that you are grateful for will increase your ability to have the mindset of gratitude. We spend a lot of time focusing on doing better, getting more, being different. These things can also be positive, right? Because we want our lives to change and to improve on things. Absolutely. But if you stay in that mindset all the time, you will always feel like you're lacking. You have to focus on and appreciate what you have at some point. And so that is gratitude. Mindfulness is another great tool to get you focused on your gratitude, therefore changing your perspective. And practicing mindfulness is being present in this moment. So as we're sitting here right now, I know that some of you are multitasking, right? You're listening, but you're really doing something else, and you're thinking about going somewhere or what you have to do tomorrow. It's just where we are. Like, that's just how we live our lives. And so mindfulness is being present in this moment, not getting caught up in the future, the things that we need to do, or the things that have already happened. Being mindful is being in this moment. And most of our negative feelings like anxiety and depression and stress and anger, it's focused on something that's already happened or something we're worried about happening. So being in this moment cuts back on a lot of those negative feelings and stress. This holiday season, I want us to fully engage in whatever it is that we're doing. So whatever holiday activities that you do plan on going to, be there in that moment. Enjoy the experience, be fully immersed in it. Let's stay off of our phones. Let's stay, mindful about who we're talking to, looking at them in the eyes, carrying on real conversations, fostering and nurturing the relationships that we have in our lives. That is how we get the most out of the things that we do during the holidays. Moving on to our third P, pamper. And you see under there, it says self-care and physical and mental health. They're all kind of the same, but I just wanted to break it up because we hear self-care all the time, right? We hear that word self-care. You have to do better with your self-care. But what is self-care? Self-care is it's different for everyone, but it's also important to everyone. Working through my own burnout and working with clients all these years has shown me that many of us don't know how to relax. I know I didn't, right? It took me, I had to purposely work on activities and behaviors to figure out what it is that relaxes me. And I remember like someone was telling me to play this game on your phone, and I discovered that that game was highly addictive and a huge time suck for me. So that was not my thing, right? That was not going to be my relaxation because then it was messing with my time management skills, right? Because I'm spending all this time relaxing on this game. So it has to work for you. I want you to be honest with yourself and figure out what it is that relaxes you. Try new things and see how it feels. A few things you can ask yourself as you're going through this process is what is your mood like when you're doing this thing? How do you feel when you're done doing this thing? And do you look forward to doing this thing? Right? So those are three questions you can ask yourself as you're trying to figure out your self-care and what it is that you enjoy doing. Right? We're trying to figure this out. And so you have to sometimes step out of the box, right? And try different things that you have not tried before. But, you never know if you are going to like it or not. Oh, I see. Yeah, I do appreciate, and that brings up a good point, Amanda. You might change. We're all changing all the time. And I know before I did not appreciate my alone time as much as I do now. But yeah, I need more alone time now than I did in previous years. So we just have to be used to the change that's going to happen because we're all changing all the time. So I think it's really important. I'm glad that you know what it is that you enjoy. And I hope that everyone is really thinking about that during this time. Like, what relaxes me? What do I need to do to reset, to get my spirit back together, to get my energy back up? So when we are in this process of self-care and finding out what we're liking, you need to prioritize your health. Paying attention to your physical health by getting enough sleep, eating nutritious meals, and staying hydrated can assist you with having the energy that you need to manage your stress. You cannot do the things that you need to do if you are treating your body poorly, right? You have to be able to do the things that your body needs, or you won't have the energy that you need. We all know that dealing with things like anxiety, depression, and anger over the holidays the time of the holidays can exacerbate those things, right? So we want to be able to manage all the things that we're dealing with. And by staying on some of our routines, that can be part of what helps us manage our stress. So if you have a routine and that's working for you right now, stay on that routine, whether it's meditating or going to the gym, whatever it is. Don't lose your routine over the holidays because that's what's going to help you. And so now that you know why the holidays are stressful and you know the 3 P's that you can use to lower your stress, what is something that you are going to do to lower your stress this year? This is like my favorite Christmas picture right here. But I want to hear, what are you going to do to lower your stress this year? For me, I know I'm having such a busy holiday season with work this year that I've decided to opt out of most holiday events this year so I can focus on my self care. Trust me, this was not easy, but I know what I need for me and to be my healthiest self. And it did not involve traveling for me this year. So I had to use all of my boundary setting skills in order to make this happen. But come next week, I will be at peace with my decision. Oh, I see some people not overcommitting on. Yes, yes, I'm not doing any of that. I'm not doing any of that. Absolutely. Plan and budget. Good, good, good. So, like I said, I am setting my boundaries this year. I'm not traveling and I'm at peace with my decisions. And my hope is that you will also be at peace with your decisions this holiday season. So, do we have any questions? I wanted to say real quick, starting January 1st, I am relaunching the Reset Movement. The Reset Movement is a community working to reset their lives and stop the burnout. We're going to dive deep into boundary setting, creating self care routines, learning how to be mindful, and all the things that help us manage our stress and prevent burnout. So, signing up to join the group gets you access to the exclusive group coaching sessions, the peer community that holds us accountable and provides support. And you get regular specialized content and a more, there's a lot going on in that group. So, I hope to see you join, and I would love to see you join the movement. And if you would like more details, send me an email. I will be sending out the emails at the end of December as we're about to start that. And be sure to be first on the list because we have limited number of spaces for this group. And just because you joined this masterclass today, you are going to be invited and allowed to be in our private Facebook group. So you'll get that invitation. You don't have to buy anything, but you'll get that invitation after this class. I'll email it to you. And we put a lot of freebies in there. So also, I see some people chiming in. Yeah, too much time playing games. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. But there'll be freebies posted in that group. Also, the worksheet that I put up today, the holiday worksheet, that will be up there. And so I would love to see you guys over there in that group. And do we have any questions right now? Okay, well, there's the code. You can send me a message, and I look forward to seeing you guys. Take care and have a blessed and happy holiday season. Bye.